Hey, NACURH. Give me just 1 second. Okay, for real this time. Hey, NACURH. My name is Zoe Hancock, and I have the absolute privilege of serving as your annual conference chair this year. I am so thrilled to see all of you that have been engaging with our conference so far today, sending memes in the Discord, helping one another, those of you who presented case studies, and all of the good vibes that have been happening in our mass gatherings live session, listening to music. As you all know, vlogging into leadership is the theme of our conference. And while that may be a little on the nose, I'm somebody that has always loved to just lean into things, especially when there are puns involved. So thank you all so much for wanting to spend your weekend here. I am so absolutely thrilled to be here. If this is your first NACURH conference of any sort, welcome. This is so exciting, and we're so happy to have you here. If this is not your first, no matter how many this has been for you, we're also so excited to have you here with us. One of my favorite things about NACURH is that no matter how long you've been around, there's always something new to learn, and there are always new friendships to make. In the spirit of thinking about learning new things and beginnings, I'd like to share a little bit about how I got my start in NACURH and how I ended up sitting on a Zoom screen on a Friday night in June, speaking to a group of outstanding student leaders. So I did my undergraduate degree at Indiana University. I'm currently in graduate school now. But one day I received an email from some organization asking if my school would be interested in hosting a conference. I was very confused because I had never heard of this organization. And so I went to speak to my RHA advisor, and I learned about this group called NACURH, the National Association of College and University Residence Halls. After learning a little bit about what this mysterious group was, I talked with my advisor, and we decided that we wanted to try to host a conference for this group. So while I didn't leave in 2018 hosting an annual conference, I did leave with something that was so much greater, and that was a community within this organization and within the spaces that you folks are in right now. The world that we are in right now is increasingly concerned with things like qualifications, having the right degree, the proper previous work experience, in-group recommendations. And so it can be easy to see ourselves as unqualified for things that we would like to achieve, and to resign ourselves to the idea that we've made mistakes in our journey, that we have had crucial moments that have passed us by and that we're not able to achieve those goals. I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. There is no set metric for your success. The benchmarks in your journey are up to you. You might even find that those benchmarks are changing with each day. Some goals may be more difficult to achieve based on the current context that you're in, but that doesn't mean you need to give up on them entirely. While the path you take might not be the most direct, as long as it leads you to your destination, it's worked out just as well as any other way you could have gone. So you may be thinking to yourself, like, yeah, this all sounds great, but what am I supposed to do with this sentimental speech that you've just given us? Well, I can't answer and give you specifics for your situation. I would like to just share a little bit of advice and some grounding principles that have really helped me throughout my journey as a student leader. First, embrace discomfort. We, I think, have all experienced a lot of new and uncomfortable situations within the last year, for a variety of different contexts and experiences that we're having in our personal lives and our campus lives, and as larger global communities. We grow when we're in new situations, and that often comes with some degree of discomfort. It's all right to not have every piece of information on day one, and it's okay to be a little unsure about the path ahead of you. The folks that are here in this conference with you are part of your support network, and I hope by the end of the weekend you'll consider them part of your family. Lean into them and absorb as much information as possible this weekend. Before long, you may look around and realize that the things that used to seem so scary to you really aren't anymore. So while here in the middle of summer, amongst any number of crazy things that may be happening right now, we're here together, logging into leadership. We're here in this time, in this moment together. And you're gonna see so many others who have joined together from different backgrounds and from different paths into this unified space. All of those people are not going to be connected by a series of uniform choices, but we're instead connected by rich and diverse parts of our past, which have all woven together into this shared moment that we have right now. So the NACURH theme for this past year has been Together We Are Limitless. I truly believe that that theme for this organization is due to the unlimited well of possibility that exists within each and every one of you that is sitting across from a computer screen, joining us right now. So whether you have been with us for a decade or more, whether you're just with us for this one weekend, you have forever changed what it means to be a successful leader by adding your unique story to this tapestry that we're in right now. The beauty of a group like ours is that no two stories will ever be the same. So I want to thank you for being a part of NACURH and for continuing to redefine and reimagine what it means to be successful. I would now like to officially get us started by turning the time over to the annual conference staff member, Charles, who serves as our NACURH Board of Directors liaison.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Yo, NACURH, my name is Charles. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am your NBD liaison for the conference. Before we get into the festivities, we would like to take a moment to recognize that the land on which we all reside is not our own. Though the COVID-19 pandemic has permitted us to only gather virtually, and this conference has no singular host institution, it does not change the fact that each of us live on land that was stolen through genocide in the name of colonization from the indigenous communities that inhabit this space before us. In light of the recent discovery of the 215 indigenous children of the Tecumloops de Sewepem and 751 individuals of the Saskatchewan First Nations, we'd like to take a moment of silence to honor them and the people of those hurting communities. Thank you. Linked in the Discord is an interactive website that has all of the information related to native land and those who lived upon this land. This acknowledgement is only a small step towards reconciliation, and we ask that each of you use this interactive map and take the time to educate yourselves on the history of the indigenous people's land you reside on. We pay respect to all the indigenous and First Nation communities throughout time and into the future who are protecting and preserving their history and culture. Next, sorry, I now pass it off to Casey.
Thank you, Charles. Next, could you all continue to give your undivided attention as we play the US, Hawaii, and Canada national anthems. I will now pass it to Dawson, our mass gatherings chair.
Hey, NACURH. Welcome to the 2021 NACURH Annual Conference. My name is Dawson Davis, and I am your NACURH Mass Gatherings Chair. This past year hasn't been easy. It's been challenging. It's been tough. We've really had to be adaptable through recognition, service, philanthropy, advocacy, and programming efforts to make a difference in the lives of others this past affiliation year. However, we're all in this together, and we are NACURH. I wanted to take this moment to say I'm proud of you. I'm proud of each of you for being adaptable, showing gratitude, and strengthening your organizations with unity, despite the many challenges we've all faced in this past year. The conference staff is proud of you, no matter your identity or identities, and would like to echo that sentiment that we have an unwavering support towards your journey while you log into leadership this weekend and throughout your time in your respective region and throughout your time in NACURH. Over the past 7 months leading up to this very moment, our annual conference staff, a team that is full of talented and a hardworking group of individuals, has longed and prepared for this conference. We would have much rather had the annual conference in person, sharing laughs, especially good dad jokes, and lifelong memories together. Although in a virtual setting, we are here this weekend to do that same thing. Even though we are thousands of miles apart, or even a state or two apart, we hope that everyone in attendance makes lifelong memories, makes new friends, connections, pen pals possibly, and truly take a strong hold in the opportunity to be here. Before introducing our keynote speaker, I'd like to tell you a dad joke. Why was the mobile phone wearing glasses? Because it lost its contacts. Okay, enough of my bad dad jokes. Alma Marfo is a thoughtful yet incurably silly independent higher educational professional, writer, and editor based in Boston, Massachusetts. She holds a bachelor's degree in communication studies from the University of Rhode Island and a master of education from the University of South Florida. Alma is a dynamic and sought-after speaker on topics such as leadership, group dynamics, creativity, and incorporating your values into your work and larger goals. She speaks on college and university campuses across the country at regional and national conferences, and has partnered with organizations like HubSpot, Wayfair, Ovia Health, Pfizer, and General Assembly. She's an outspoken advocate for creativity, believes strongly in the power of humor, and looks forward to helping you find the way you live and work best. Her other interests include live comedy, surfing, trivia, and gluten-free cooking and baking. I will now turn it over to Alma to talk about value-based leadership.
Hi, everyone. Dawson, thank you so much for the fantastic introduction. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And Dawson, I'm talking to my dad right after this, and he is going to love that joke. So it's a good one. He's going to enjoy it. So really quick, before we get started, I just wanted to make sure that everyone has a pen and paper ready because we are going to be doing some work. Even though the conference is called Logging into Leadership, the bulk of what we're doing is going to be pretty analog. You'll get to write things down, cross things out, and work in a more tactile fashion to discover your values and what they might mean to you. So first, a little bit more for an introduction for me. My name is Alma Marfo. I use she, her pronouns. I am a former RA for Butterfield Hall at the University of Rhode Island, current speaker and facilitator, and always aspiring good person, trying to figure out how to help other people be at their best and present a net good for the world that we live in. But first, recognizing that it's the end of the week, it's the end of the day at the end of the week, I want to give us a moment to reset where our brains might be, maybe scattered from one thing to the next, maybe worrying about what's ahead of us or what's just happened, and prepare ourselves to be in touch with something that can be pretty personal, which is things that we value and hold close to us. So if you'll permit me, we're going to do a brief guided meditation that'll get you in touch with gratitude and things that feel very close to you. So take a moment to place yourself in a comfortable position. Hopefully you get to do that if you're watching from a space where you're a little bit more comfortable. Take a few deep breaths and let your chest rise and fall with each inhale and exhale. When you're ready, let your eyes drift closed. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, you can look downward or away from the screen. As you continue to breathe slowly and deeply, let your attention rest gently on your breath, feeling the movement as it enters and exits your body. Each time you exhale, let go of any tension. Could be in your neck or shoulders, could be in your hands or feet, maybe in your neck or jaw. Let some tension go. On your next exhale, settle your attention to the area around your heart. Focus on feelings of love, compassion, empathy, forgiveness. With your attention on what we call our heart center, bring to mind something or someone you're grateful for. As you continue with easy, relaxed breathing, perhaps you feel gratitude for being alive, being here. Perhaps you're grateful for the abundance of nature that produces food to nourish our bodies, beautiful scenery to nourish our souls. Bring your attention to people who truly nourish your life and how they bless you with their presence. Feel gratitude for your own life and the many gifts you have been blessed with. Bring your attention to how this gratitude feels in the area around your heart. With each inhale, let that feeling grow outward, expanding to fill your chest, going down your arms and into your hands, down your legs and into your feet. With each inhale, that feeling grows, filling you up. And now, even as you return your attention to your breath, let your body remember the sensations of your gratitude. So with one last deep breath in, and one last deep breath out, return your attention to the screen and hold that feeling with you. Think about the things and people that make your life full, because that does factor into our values. Now, I'm going to give you a moment to define values in the chat. It's a word we throw around a lot. Values-based leadership is something that we've all at least heard, if not become intimately familiar with. So I'll give you a moment to share some ideas about what that might mean to you, and then we'll go through a definition and how we're going to be using it for the duration of the session. So take a moment to think about this. Doesn't have to be full sentences, doesn't have to be grammatically correct, just what comes to mind when you think of values. So the definition that we'll be using for the duration of this session is a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. And the standards of behavior piece, I think, is the most important to what we're about to do. Because I think we can all say that we value a lot of different things, but there are a finite number of things that guide how we act and how we treat people. And for the exercise we're about to do, you're going to be able to narrow down to a small number of values. And that is the largest piece that's going to help you narrow that number down. What elements of what we share are most likely to impact your behavior? So keep that in mind as we go forward. So there are two different parts to defining your values and to using them in everyday life. The first is defining your own values and crafting a case to highlight them, particularly in terms of fighting for ideas or initiatives that are close to you. Using your values can help make those arguments stronger, so we'll talk about how to do that. And the second is going to be identifying the values of your listener and then tailoring your case to address them. So knowing our own values is important, but also thinking about, as we're doing that convincing, as we're seeking to implement values-based change, getting a sense of what the other side values, what the institution values, what the individual values. What do they need to know about you, and what do you need to know about them to make a convincing case for what matters to you? So this first piece is going to be really tactile, and it's going to involve you narrowing down what your values are. So this first piece, defining your own values, that's where we're going right now. So as I talk to people about what they value most, it can feel really abstract without the opportunity to see what some possible options are. So the goal that we're going to work through for about the next 10 minutes or so is going to be giving you some of those suggestions to work with yourselves. So the next screen in a moment will have about 50 values on it. Now on the sheet of paper that I asked you to grab, write down 20 of these values that matter most to you. So if you want to number your page to help you keep count, you're welcome to do so if that helps you out. But we're not going to be ranking the choices, so you don't have to be too attentive to where those things fall on numbers. And then as we work with those, keep in mind we're going to be narrowing them down over time. So we're starting with 50 for everyone, and by the end we're going to end up with a much smaller number. But our first target is going to be 20. And there'll be a little bit of music on to help you maybe tune out some other thoughts, keep you focused. So this first one, remember, we're going from 50 to 20. And I'll let you know when it's time to move on to the next step. Let's go. wrapping up here. So make sure you're as close to 20 as you can be. In a moment, this list will go away. Okay. So now we're going to do some narrowing. You're going to cross out 8 of your written choices, leaving you with 12. So we're going from a top 20 to a top 12. And I'll give you 3 minutes to do this, and I'll let you know when it's time to move forward. So you're crossing out 8 of your choices to leave you with 12. Time is about half gone here, so keep working. Again, we're eliminating 8 to get you to 12. Okay, and that's time. So we're going to do a little bit more narrowing. Cut this list in half. So by the end of the next 2 minutes, you're going to cross out 6 items, leaving you with 6 in consideration. So 2 minutes to get yourself to 6 values. This time is half done. A little bit less than a minute to get to your top 6. All right, and that's time. We've got one more. This is the last one. And somehow it ends up being the hardest one. So you cross out one last option. And that's going to leave you with your top 5. And you'll have 1 minute. 1 minute to cut one. And then we'll talk a little bit about what it means to work this way and what you might be able to take away from this experience. Got 20 seconds left. Okay, so we made it. While I can't see or hear anybody, I would love for us to take a big deep breath in and a deep breath out. Because I know when I do this with groups, all the air leaves the room because it feels so high stakes. But you've done something really difficult, and I think that's something to be commended. Most people don't go through the process of thinking about what means the most to them, and it is really difficult. So make sure you get some air. You just did a very hard thing. So a few notes on what we just did. So a top 5 doesn't necessarily mean that you don't value things that fall outside of it. Sometimes that's the hardest part about eliminating things. People will then start to think, does that mean it doesn't matter to me? No. What you're picking are the 5 things that are most likely to influence how you're acting, how you treat the world around you, how you treat people around you day to day. You make your best arguments when you can incorporate why your stance matters so much. So as you think about some of the issues that you might want to advocate for, it becomes very meaningful and very personal when you can talk about how it connects to your personal values. So as an example, the fact that this conference exists online and that so many other conferences have existed online, the question will naturally arise, is this something we want to keep when people can gather in community more safely in person? And I think there are cases for yes, there are cases for no, but some of the best and most passionate arguments will come when people can say what they value. Things like valuing community and recognizing that sometimes when you travel, people aren't necessarily going to be able to come and join you. Valuing community might mean making a case for an online component. Or if you value creativity, the idea that there are things you can do online that are difficult to do in person, using that as a piece of your argument is going to come across as really thoughtful and really personal. So as you think about the issues that matter to you, connect them to your values. Many disagreements or conflict arise when people value different things. I'll also say sometimes it can depend upon if they have the same meaning for an individual value. So for example, one of the values on the list that we started with is fairness. And some people might see fairness as equality, where everybody gets the same thing. Some people might see fairness as equity, where people are lifted or perhaps maybe not given as much to be able to equalize things overall. And we can get into disagreements when one person takes fairness to mean one thing and someone else takes it to mean another. So as you're in conflict with people, thinking a little bit about A, what differences you might have in meaning for the words that you're using and the values that you have. But B, thinking about how difficult of a process this might have been for you and how it might be hard on someone else to come to those choices. That can help as we're starting to move through some things where disagreement or conflict present themselves. Of course, that's not the whole story, but in many cases, sometimes it's a misunderstanding or misalignment of terms. And the one I want to bold here, your top values can and do change over time. I think that's profoundly true when we think about the past year and a half and how people's values have changed. So I think about people for whom family and community might have been lifted up higher than they ever have been before because they had to go a year and a half without it. Or I think about people who have decided that wealth and status mean less to them than they did before if they can find something that they really liked and felt comfortable doing. On the inverse, sometimes people might have recognized wealth and status, they value them more because when you have those things, you can do greater good, help people that are struggling. So this exercise is one moment in time. It could look really different a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, which is why I always encourage people to do some version of this activity whenever they're making a big decision or whenever change is going to be involved, because then you can center the things that matter to you most in that moment. And that can help you make some of those decisions or navigate some of that change. So like I said, there are two parts to the values experience. The first is defining your own values, and the second is identifying the values of the listener and then tailoring your case to address them. So the question that tends to be involved with this is, what if the party you're lobbying doesn't share your values? It can be pretty easy to have conversations or even engage in conflict or disagreement with people when we know we're on the same page. But if you value things that might sometimes come in conflict with each other, that can be harder to do. So there's a 4-part model called Barnes's influence model that can help us think through what that might look like. And I'll go through it a little bit here and we'll talk about an example in just a moment. So first, when you're using Barnes's influence model, Barnes wants you to think about results. What is your ideal end game? And can you articulate why you want it? Recognizing your own individual values is a really big part of that second question. So when you think about wanting something to be a certain way, what in your values can help you talk about what that is? Once you have a sense of what your end goal is, Barnes wants you to focus on relationship. Who needs to be influenced to help you get to your end goal? That can be an advisor, that could be a campus administrator, that can be a colleague or fellow student, that could be maybe a board of directors or even a president of an institution, depending upon what you're trying to see change. Who is this person, and what do you know and not know about them? This information can come from other people who have relationships with them. It can come from things like interviews or maybe public records about how they've voted before. Anything that can help you get a sense of what matters to them. What might their values be? Then, context. When you think about what result you're going after, where does that goal fit within the larger environment's goal? And a second question, can you influence this issue? So for example, if the initiative or the project that you're trying to put forth aligns really well with a department's mission, vision, and values, or if it aligns with the strategic plan of a department or an institution, you're going to have an easier time making that case than if you were making something that didn't necessarily fit in with something that people wanted to see happen. So as you start to formulate plans for things, pursue ideas, think about how you can frame it in a way of, here's who this person values the opinion of. Here's what this person values. Here's what this institution values. How can I frame what I'm talking about in a way that aligns with what they're thinking there? And then finally, you come to the approach. Most of us will start by thinking about, all right, I have this idea. What do I need to do to make it happen? This model puts that last, after you really think through what the end result is, after you really think through who you're going to be selling it to, after you really think about what the environment wants from it. Then you think about what behaviors will you use, what information will help you decide, and how can you show that you understand things from your value perspective and the value perspective of the people making decisions. So related to that, learning to recognize when someone isn't open to influence. I think that's tremendously important right now as we think about the fact that as we move back to campuses in fall for more regular, quote unquote, operations, there are going to be things that still take a while to shift back, things like budgeting, things like personnel. So there might be things that honestly can't change just yet. And if that's the case, starting to think about what can we do instead that will get us through to when we have the resources we need, when we have the personnel we need, or how can I tweak my approach to say, this person wasn't hearing it the way I said it, maybe I need to go about it a different way. So a big part of having influence and using your values for influence is understanding when it might not be the time to do that. So we're gonna put some training wheels on and walk through an example. And we'll go back to that online conference example, given that's where we are right now. So if you wanted your organization to keep having an online component of their operations, results, that would be the answer, is having some sort of digital or virtual component for every subsequent annual conference. And can I articulate why I want that? I think that in doing that creatively, because I value creativity, it gives people the opportunity to interact with things in a new way. When I think about building community, I recognize that there are people for whom that is a better or maybe the only accessible option they have. As someone who seeks flexibility, if we're bringing people in from around the country, some things might merit having technological experiences that are hard to bring in person, and offering multiple ways of presenting gives us an opportunity to get different information different ways. So that's the results piece. For relationship, who do I need to influence? That could be a national organization, that can be a conference committee or planning team, that can be attendees who might need to be galvanized to support this type of effort. I want to be talking to people, I want to be asking questions, I want to figure out what matters to them. Not just my values, but do they agree? And can we come to a way where we see that this path forward aligns with all of our values? For context, where does that goal fit within the larger environment's goal? If we're talking about things like diversity and equity, and recognizing that having an online component means that some people who might not otherwise be able to afford traveling can go online, if my department values that, I want to bring that up. Can I influence that issue? It depends. It depends on if people are ready to see some of this happening. And what I will say is, if you're pitching a technological solution to something, people will likely be more receptive now than they ever have been, because we've proven we can do so much. So bringing in all of that context can help make a stronger case. And then finally, approach. Assessment from this program we're in right now. How did it go? How did people feel about it? What did they get that maybe they didn't get in a year that there was no conference? Who was here that couldn't have been here otherwise? All of those things can contribute to the approach. So as we think about that and centering what matters to us and what matters to the people around us, makes it more than just a logistical experience, it makes it a personal experience. And I think that's tremendously important for individuals who gather and create and facilitate community for other people. So we are about at time with this conversation, but I'll be talking tomorrow in the extended session about using values as well as a design principle called design thinking to solve a specific challenge with creativity in mind. So if you're willing to join tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, we'll continue this conversation and keep things going, find a way to really bring some of the challenges that you're anticipating having on campus, bringing those to life and giving you a process to think about creative solutions. So one last thing before we go. Snap a picture of your values with your phone. And for bonus points, you can share it online and add my hashtag #SpeakWithAma so I can see it. And keep this exercise with you for days that you need reminding. Sometimes we're going through 1,000 different things and are having a hard time centering ourselves. And maybe we don't have 3 to 5 minutes to do a meditation like we did at the beginning. But centering what you value and bringing that context into how you interact with the world, that can be something that centers you as well. So make sure that you take a picture and carry those values around with you. So with that, I'm going to stop my share and we'll see if we can get some questions.
Okay, we have a question. It says, how your values have your values ever changed personally and professionally?
That's a great question. Yes, they have. So I have been working independently as a speaker and facilitator for, this will be my 6th fall going into doing this on my own full time. I was doing it part-time prior to that. And for me, the idea of having flexibility and adaptability in the way that I worked was becoming more and more important. I was traveling more, I was getting to go to more conferences, I was working on other campuses, and I had to make a decision because working on campus with students was something I loved a great deal, but it was too restrictive for what I ultimately wanted to do. So as things like flexibility, creativity, and adaptability moved upward, I had to think about, does my environment support this? And it happened that things that were going on my campus didn't really do that. So it made my decision maybe not easy. It was not an easy decision, but it made it easier because I could say, I know what I need and I can figure out how to do this for myself. I'll also say, and I alluded to this, values for so many people have changed over the course of the pandemic and our time away from larger communities. And I think it's kind of made something that's been really important to me, community, all the more important. So spending time with friends on Zoom, putting together Netflix parties so we could watch TV together, finding all of those small ways to bring people together was tremendously important. And I think initially when we were trying to figure out how all of this was going to work, that was something I knew I was going to miss. And I became sort of the unofficial cruise director of my friends. Like, let's hop on Zoom and talk about this. Let's hop on Netflix party and watch that. So it was a good point of clarity that yes, that's still important to me. Yes, I do like making those things happen for people. And I found new ways to do it.
Absolutely. I love that. We have lots of questions coming in.
Okay, let's
So
do it.
I'm just going to pick one. A delegate would like to know, what are your what 5 values would yours be?
Oh goodness, let me see if I remember all of them. Flexibility is one, creativity is one, community, family, and integrity. I believe those are the 5.
Those are a good 5 to pick from.
Thank you.
Okay, here's a good question. Should we feel ashamed for having very differing views from others? This individual says, I feel like my values are almost too shallow compared to others.
That's a good question. And what I would say is there's a version of this activity that rather than having you cross things out, you get to arrange things from a spectrum of most valued to least valued. And whenever I do it with people that way, I always try to let them know there isn't a segment for not valued because none of these things are objectively bad. So even if you feel as though some of yours are a little bit shallow, think about how you interpret them. Challenge yourself to find the depth within some of those things. Like I mentioned, recognition is one that tends to get a bad rap, as well as wealth and status. But for me, I think about those things as possible goods because if I choose to value wealth, part of that will be so I can spread that wealth to people in my community. That's a great thing to value. Or for recognition, if people know who I am, I can use my platform for things that matter. So some of those things that at first blush might look pretty shallow or superficial, you can find depth within them. So take a look at what you have and try to figure out, how does this connect to something deeper? How does this connect to other values I have? And how can I use it to develop more of a net good for myself and the people around me? But that's a really good question.
So here's another really great question that someone asked. Lost it in this document. How often should I do this type of assessment, and what might prompt a change in values?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's maybe a set schedule that it should be done. I think you can do some ceremonial ones. So maybe like a few days before New Year's, thinking about what's changed for me this year and what might I value as a result of that. Maybe the night before the first day of classes, if you're doing it on campus and want to apply it to your experience as a student leader. So at the very least, if you wanted to set it to a cadence like that, those are 2 examples. But like I said, I always really recommend it when people are going through a situation of great change, like graduation, like a move, like changing jobs. It's really helpful to make some decisions there. And I would also say thinking about it in terms of anytime you have to make a decision and you're not really sure what to do, sometimes something like that could say, this element of the experiment, or the experience rather, aligns with my values, or it doesn't. And then you can make sure that you're making what's the right choice for you at the moment. And again, to that point, if your values change over time and you feel like you need to take away an opportunity or step away from an opportunity, that's supposed to happen. That just means that it was right for you before and it isn't anymore. That's a perfectly okay thing.
Okay, we're going to do 2 more of these questions. Let me pick one. How do you try to create open communication with someone or something that has fundamentally different values to you than you?
This is a good question. And I think first I want to start by putting open that point of learning when someone isn't necessarily open to influence, because there are conversations that won't end up moving anybody in either direction. And depending on the power differential or the identities that you hold, it might not be safe or smart for you to engage in that. And I want to give people permission, if that is the case, to not engage in that conversation if it won't be productive or safe for you. But I do think that for people who are willing to be swayed, and that is a possibility, asking them about what those values mean to them. Can they think about a time when that has surfaced in their lives? And maybe you can get a deeper sense of what they think about in that type of situation. Going back to the fairness example, again, figuring out if somebody is pushing back because they think, well, we should all have the same opportunities, so why isn't this working the way it should, versus someone who recognizes systematically that might not necessarily be the case, like everyone having the same isn't necessarily true. That is in some cases semantic conversation. So trying to understand what someone means when they say, I'm in favor of fairness, that can be a good way to think about it. So trying to get to the meaning of what do you think that word means? Because every now and again, we just miss each other because of things like that.
Absolutely. You make really great points, Alma.
Thank you.
The last question here is, what is the most prominent thing you've learned about yourself through doing these value ranking activities as time has passed and you have changed as a person?
That is a great question. I think for me, the most valuable piece of it is being able to see it help people make big decisions. So one thing that I do is, having transitioned out of traditional higher education into now independent work, I talk to a lot of people for whom that's a decision that they're trying to make. And the number of people who have said, I didn't know what I was going to do until I looked at what I value and then it became very clear, that's a hugely valuable thing for me to be able to share with someone, is to give them a means by which to access the things that matter most to them. So feeling indecisive, feeling unsure, feeling like there isn't a right choice, looking really deeply at who you are and what matters to you and having that open a path. I love being a part of that. It's a wonderful thing to get to do for people. And I hope that it's done that for some of you. Maybe if you're weighing a decision, or maybe if you're trying to figure out what path to take next, these answers can help with that. And I always love being a part of that experience for people. Thank you for that question.
Absolutely.
So I think we've come to the end of the question time. What I will say is, again, if you want to talk through this a little bit more tomorrow, there's an extended session where we'll be applying it to creativity and design to think about some specific things that are going on. So with that, I'm going to transition over to Christina, and she will be taking us to NACURH Program of the Year. So Christina, over to you.
Hey, NACURH, my name is Christina Eichley, and I have the privilege of serving as the conference resource consultant. The NACURH Kuhoi Daniel Seiler Program of the Year Award is named after Daniel Seiler, whose programs were consistently winners of top program awards. It recognizes the most outstanding student-implemented residence life program. This award was created in an effort to recognize the high level of initiative and professionalism essential to student programming. The 2021 NACURH Kuhuai Daniel Seiler Program of the Year Award goes to the University of Central Florida. Now I would like to turn it over to Anne Marie, who will announce the NRHH member scholarship pin design winner.
Hey NACURH, my name is Anne-Marie Thomas and I serve as the NACURH Associate for NRHH. The NRHH Member Scholarship is awarded to an individual who shows a commitment to academic excellence and serves as a role model in academic achievement within the honorary. This year, we were unable to award any scholarships because we sold out of the last pin design. With that in mind, we solicited submissions for a new pin design, which is up on the NACURH store. Be sure to check it out. We wanted to provide an opportunity for recognition for the designer of the next NRHH Member Scholarship pin design, Taylor Hannah Peterson from the University of Kansas, for their Shine Bright pin design. I will now turn things over to Katie to present her first gold pin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Francis Westermeyer, and I serve as the NACURH chairperson. The gold pin is a NACURH award given at the chairperson's discretion. The pins are awarded to individuals who have provided leadership and direction to NACURH. This weekend, I will be awarding the 7 remaining gold pins I have for my term. Quotes from nominators stated that this individual is one of the most fearless, intentional, and selfless leaders that they have ever met. Starting as an NCC and then serving 2 years in NACURH leadership, Bree McGee from the Central Atlantic has gone above and beyond the call of duty. Bree has been a strong advocate in CACUR and NACURH spaces. Her impact on the honorary and NACURH is felt widely. Bree's resiliency and ability to handle any challenge thrown at her with a positive and enthusiastic attitude is a special talent that inspires others to put their best foot forward. Bree, my first gold pin of the weekend goes to you. Links love. Now, to present the recipients of the Daniel Ocampo Academic Scholarship, I will throw things over to Gabby in the Great Lakes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabby. I serve as the Great Lakes Associate Director for Administration and Finance. The Daniel Ocampo Academic Scholarship is named after Daniel Ocampo, who began his involvement in NACURH in 1986 as a member of the University of San Francisco's annual conference staff and a NACURH board member. Dan dedicated 8 years to serving the NACURH Board of Directors as the NACURH advisor. Dan built a legacy as a passionate, loving, and supportive advisor. The Daniel Ocampo Academic Scholarship was created to recognize the achievements and impact that Dan had within our organization. Dan has a passion for supporting the student experience. This scholarship supports students of marginalized identities and their academic pursuits and involvements within NACURH. This year, we are so excited to recognize 3 outstanding leaders for this award. The 2021 recipients of this award goes to Sandra Franco from Arizona State University, Tempe, Joy Mason from Case Western Reserve University, and Becky Paul Odehen from the University at Buffalo. I will now hand things over to Katie to present her second gold pin.
Hi again. It takes strength and courage to stand for what is right. It takes even more strength and courage to do so when it feels that the cards are stacked against you. Emily Gentry has faced every challenge presented to her this year with grace and intentional thinking. For several years now, Emily has been involved in NACURH, advocating for the needs of her institution, board of directors, and region. Her strength and tenacity should not be underestimated. Her service to both the Southwest region and NACURH as a whole is worthy of much admiration that I would like to give in the form of a gold pin. Emily, congratulations. I look forward to seeing what you accomplish in the future. Links love. Now, to present the recipient of the Akuhuai Stars College Honorarium, I will throw things over to Ryan in the Great Lakes.
Hello, my name is Ryan Moore, and I serve as the Great Lakes Regional Director. The NACURH and OCM Stars College grant is intended to support the personal and professional development of up to 4 members from NACURH-affiliated institutions by funding their attendance to the Akuhuai Stars College. Through a partnership with OCM, NACURH aims to reduce the financial barriers to leadership development opportunities for promising students looking to reflect on the intersection of personal and professional identities while beginning to identify a meaningful career path within housing and residence life. The recipient of the 2021 NACURH and OCM STARS College Grant is Rachel Krell from Northern Arizona University. Now to present the NRHH Diamond Award recipients, I would like to turn to Hannah from the Pacific.
Technical difficulties. Hey everyone, my name is Hannah and I serve as the NACURH AD NRHH. The NRHH Diamond Award is an honor bestowed upon individuals who have made outstanding strides, reaching beyond their on-campus community while exemplifying the values of NRHH. The award recognizes outstanding achievements and/or the collaborations linking members of their chapter to that of their campus community and other college and university NRHH chapters across NACURH. The recipients of the 2021 NRHH Diamond Award are Aubrey Sharp from University of Hawaii at Manoa and Callista Fowler from Colorado State University. Now, I would like to turn it over to Katie for her third gold pin presentation and parting thoughts this evening.
Poise, grace, confidence, advocacy, and dedication. Earlier this weekend, I was able to honor this person with a separate award and use those same words as the introduction. Najee Culberson is the heart and soul of the Pacific affiliate of NACURH. As a CO for presidents last year and the regional director this year, Najee has transformed the legacy of the Pacific affiliate. She balances compassion with sternness, taking time to lead her representatives in intentional conversations and asking all the right questions in NBD spaces to keep us moving forward. Najee's impact on this organization will be felt for years to come, so I'm honored to be awarding her this gold pin. Links love. Now, in general, to you all, I just wanted to once again say welcome. As many others have already stated tonight, we're so incredibly excited to have you here this weekend. As you learn from each other and grow as leaders, I hope you take the time to reflect on how far you've come and how much more you can grow. This weekend is just the beginning, and I'm thrilled to watch you all bloom. For some final announcements of the evening, I will turn things back over to Dawson.
Thank you, Katie. Tomorrow we have some outstanding educational sessions for you to attend. Not only will we have a presentation from the 2021 Program of the Year, but we will also have the 2020 Program of the Year as well. We'll have presentations from one of our sponsors, Student Playbook. Be sure to connect with their team throughout the conference and learn how they can support you and your fellow students in securing the internships and jobs. Our phenomenal keynote speaker, Amma, will be offering a special session to extend her talk that you won't want to miss. But the night is not over yet. Following opening ceremonies, there are regional breakout sessions. Check your regional chat for those Zoom links. Following the conclusion of those, there are socials for NCCs, NRHH, RHA, first-time delegates, the magic show, which you won't want to miss, trivia, and more. Go check out both the Discord and the NACURH Annual Conference website for more information. And please refer to the schedule channel and Discord for links. Finally, being posted in the Discord now is a link to our conference waiver for Friday. Filling out this waiver is extremely valuable to the conference staff and also can help your region earn spirit points. And thank you.